In this module, we will know about music recording industry. I think we all enjoy music. Very handful of people can say that they don't like music. But we will look at how it all started, and it's a very interesting journey to see where we were and where we are right now. I'm going to kind of basically start this class with this agenda. We were going to look at the evolution of sound, and we will look at the big three music recording companies and how much of clout it has on the music industry. And I want to kind of ask a question before we start. When do you think the human civilization was able to hear their own voice for the very first time? you know the human civilization, I mean the human race dates back to like thousands of years, but when do you think a human being was able to listen to their own voice? Well, it was echo, right? You go and stand on top of a mountain and just shout something, you will hear a echo. I think that was the first time they were able to have this kind of playback mechanism where they could hear their own voice. But it was only till the end of the 19th century that they were able to reproduce a human voice. But prior to that, if you want to enjoy a musical experience or listen to music, you had to go physically to a concert or a auditorium or a music hall where musicians played the music live for the audience. And that's when, up until the early late part of the 19th century, people were able to listen to music only during that form. And it was the effort by this brilliant inventor, Thomas Edison, that people were actually first exposed to the concept of listening to a human recorded voice. And this was in 1877 that he demonstrated the ability to record voice or sound. I think this was an invention that laid the foundation for the recording industry in this country. And Thomas Edison was a pioneer, and he used a kind of a cylinder foil to record sound, and this was called a phonograph. And basically he thought this was going to be a dictating machine. He never realized that this concept will be ever used for anything like entertainment or recording music. But the flip side was, it was only able to only record the sound and then play back. It didn't have the ability to kind of duplicate more stuff. And I think that was this is the prototype of a phonograph. You see, you can see the cylinder shaped things, and you can see this extended kind of cone where the sound was recorded, as well as it had the ability to play back. But I just thought of sharing with you this video. So this is the way how a phonograph works. Um, as you can see, this is the Edison speaking phonograph, and it is dated in 1878, but the PowerPoint says it's 1877 because he had this demonstration and sketch. And we'll just see how it sounds and how even sound is being recorded.
Hello, hello, hello. Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. Ha, ha, ha!
But the problem with that particular phonograph was when you played repeatedly, it was not able to hold that kind of quality, and it kind of degenerated, and also it was not able to be reproduced. I think that was the kind of a flip side with the phonograph, which was made possible by Emil Berliner, where he came up with this, instead of the cylinder, he came up with this disc format where the disc could kind of record the sound and also play back over many times without that much of a quality degeneration. I think this was practically the first ever invention that kind of gave some kind of pathway for the entertainment or the music recording industry. And this was in 1887, and Emil Berliner's gramophone completely changed the way people listen to music, and it kind of laid the foundation for the music recording industry in our country. And again, but again, it actually went through several stages by of technological changes and all that. But Emil Berliner was considered a pioneer in terms of the music recording, because he came with the earlier shortcoming with Edison's gramophone, where we cannot play it repeatedly and we cannot reproduce more of that which was recorded. But Emil Berliner came up with this gramophone idea, where instead of cylinder he used kind of flat disc, and we were able to play back several times and also reproduce the sound that was recorded. I think that was a kind of a brilliant invention that changed the face of the music recording industry in this country. And again, a lot of people were working on kind of fine tuning the ability to reproduce sound, to play back and all that. And Peter Goldmark again is credited with inventing the long playing records, because what happened was, up until then, for every time when we want to listen to a music or recording, they can only play for a very short period of time, maybe for 2 minutes, and then again change it to another disc, and then change it to another disc. So just to listen to a single song, people had to kind of flip this disc for like 5 or 6 times, and that was time consuming, and that didn't also make them enjoy the experience of listening to music. And Peter Goldmark came up with a long playing record disc where it could play for 23 minutes non-stop, and it was only in 1948. So look at the time frame. Okay, gramophone was invented in 1877, and sorry, phonograph was invented in 1877, and gramophone was invented in 1887. And it took a long time for it to kind of fine tune itself to kind of make sure that we create good quality audio. So let's listen to this one. So you'll have to crank this instrument, and then to enjoy this short bit of song, they have to go through so much of procedures. Again, sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't. So again, the procedure starts again, I guess. There we go. So So imagine the process to listen to a song. You have to go through so many steps. This was in way back in the 1920s and 1930s, when gramophone was the only way people could kind of enjoy music. So again, it took a lot of inventions and kind of strategies to kind of develop music, and the Germans actually were very innovative. And when during World War they used magnetophone, wherein they were able to record sound on magnetic strips. They thought that was a kind of a cool way to record sound on magnetic strips instead of disc. And this was again replicated in multiple ways, but they actually did that after several experimentation. And this was again, as you can see, this is a kind of a video where music was recorded on magnetic tapes. And definitely you can see the shift in the quality of the output of music from a gramophone to a magnetophone. So yes, we definitely have come a long way in terms of the ability to reproduce sound. We are talking about a different thing like high fidelity on stereo, where stereo means the ability to kind of use two or more loudspeakers to reproduce sound. And there have been many gadgets that have been developed over the last several decades to fine tune the reproduction of good quality sound. And pretty much just you saw how the ability to record sound on magnetic strips. They pretty much used this and many audio cassette recorders. I grew up listening to these kind of audio cassette recorders. I don't know, many of you might not have seen this, all these boom speakers and all that. This DC60 means it can hold up to a 60 minute playback or recording, because you can use this tape recorder, a cassette, to record sound as well as to listen to music as well. So you can record your own voice and listen to it, on people also record high quality music and then use it for mass distribution for consumption. I guess some of you might have seen the boom speakers at some point. But it was in 1979, Sony was the first one to try a fully digital recorded song. See, up until this point we used physical signal, like no, we used cylinders and disc and LPs and magnetic strips and magnetic tapes and audio cassette recorders. But digital recording is where everything is digitized. All the audios is being kind of digitized into zeros and ones, and they were able to reproduce music. And look at let's listen to this one. So this album is Bop Till You Drop. It's a good name, and that was the first fully digital recorded song that was from Japan. And Japan was a pioneer in terms of refining music. And in 1979, they launched this tiny little cassette recorder, which is called the Walkman, and it kind of swept the world by storm. Like pretty much everybody were into Walkman, because up until this point, if you want to listen to music, you will have to sit in front of this big boombox or this big cassette recorders and listen to it. But it gave you the portability. You can listen to music on the go. And I remember I couldn't afford for a Walkman, but it was one of my cousin. He bought this Walkman and he was raving about it. And I still remember very clearly that he gave me the headphones and asked me to listen to the music. That music kind of went from one ear to the other, and it was mind-boggling for me. Like I thought, like, man, that was the coolest stuff ever. I think it was a song from Michael Jackson. I think it was I think it was Beat It. I think it was one of the most memorable events in my life. Our Walkman kind of fascinated me, and I think many of you might have seen this. But then even in 2011, Sony launched another version of Walkman, but I guess it was not that much it among the masses. The Walkman really was a global phenomena in the early part of the 1980s. And again in 1980s, again the compact disc came into existence. So as we discussed, we were able to digitize songs about 1979, and they were able to kind of use compact disc to store all the digital data. And a CD holds about 700 MB, and you can store up to several songs in CDs. And again, right now we are looking at high quality CDs where you can record even hundreds of songs. But the true revolution came in MP3 format, because when MP3 came into existence, I think it completely challenged the recording industry itself, because I think people started thinking that MP3 was kind of the in thing, because an iPod could literally store thousands of songs, and also the quality was so good that people actually fell in love. And MP3 indeed was a revolution in the music industry itself, and the quality was much better than any other up until that point in time. So you are able to store more data, and also the quality was kind of crystal clear. And we are now, I want you to listen to this. So the point is, now sound can be kind of used in like hundreds of tracks. You can mix it, you can kind of designate the sound should be on the right, on the should be on the left, it can be on surround. So we can do wonders with sound. And I just want you to have the perspective of how we were. Imagine we saw a video of people used to crank a machine to listen to kind of crappy sounding music, to a point where we are able to kind of mix in hundreds of different soundtracks together and enjoy the experience and the beauty of music. So we have definitely come a long way, and this is one side where we looked at the evolution of sound. But the second thing is how people started monetizing this industry. I mean, going back to one of the lenses, how media is profit centered. So basically music recording industry is a big industry, it's a $1 billion industry, and how they're making money in the process. So these are the three important music production houses, and all these companies are based across the United States. The three centers are Los Angeles, New York, and Nashville. These are the three important hubs for music. And also there are other music production studios that are spread across the country, but these three are the main centers. And Universal Music Group, Sony Music, and Warner Music Group, these are the big giants in the music industry. So if you want to be a singer, or if you want to be in the entertainment industry, you will have to invariably be a part of this to be as successful. Yes, there are independent music production houses, but they have the clout and reach and the pathway and infrastructure, so that it's easy for them to market and make money and monetize as well. So we are looking at one of the other things is Billboard. I think Billboard has been there in existence from 1913. What they basically do is they want to look at what are some of the best selling music. Earlier it was the music sheet, okay, but right now then we are looking at, albums and songs, whether it's a physical album, or it's a online, or streaming or downloaded. They can pretty much track everything. And from 1940 they started documenting or tabulating the top selling records of every year. And we can just look at some of the top billboards for the present time. But just to kind of give you an understanding, that streaming music is also kind of taking the music industry by storm. In fact, look at the streaming growth. In 2014 it was about 164.5 billion songs, but it almost doubled in 1 year to 317 billion songs. Again, Nielsen is kind of a group where they completely monitor and give some kind of analytics of how many people are listening to certain radio stations or watching certain television stations. And they also have a big presence in the music industry, and they have detailed analytics and statistics of how many people are listening to music and downloading music and stuff like that. And I guess you can say Billboard, they gather all the information through sales data and streaming data. So sales data is the physical sales of copies, like CDs and vinyl records and all that. And streaming data is anything that can be streamed on online platforms or downloaded from music stores. And they pretty much oversee and give us an idea of what kind of music people are listening to and how music are being downloaded and streamed online. So let's look at what are the best selling albums of 2017. Can you guess what's the best selling albums based on your interest in various music bands? Well, let's look at the top album. I guess this you can figure out who's the top album for the 2017. I think this is based on across all genre, and it's ranked by album sales, as well as audio on demand streaming activity, and as well as digital streams from music stores as well. This is completely based by Nielsen Music, and they actually in fact feed for Billboard as well. So the number one music album for actually that was released for 2017, but basically they have sales figures only from 2016, is Adele, number one, followed by Drake, Justin Bieber and Beyonce. And again, Rihanna and 21 Pilots and Chris Stapleton are in the top seven. I mean, I'm a big fan of some of the few songs of 21 Pilots, Stressed Out, and then of course the song which came out on the movie. I think I'm not able to place that movie. What's that thing? Was it some band of people, like all the Marvel comic characters coming together? So I cannot remember the song from the top of my head right now, but that's a good song. But as you can see, Billboard gives you a overall figure of the top songs and the top album that is kind of streamed or downloaded or bought as a regular physical copies. So the number one song for July is Despacito. Again, there is actually another version, a Spanish version, which I think is better than this, but I guess people like to listen to Daddy Yankee and Justin Bieber. So Yeah, this is the number one song as of July 2017, and it keeps changing, depending upon the sales and streaming and downloaded data. It keeps changing. And so we've definitely come a long way. And also I want you to kind of have an understanding that music industry is all about making money. And the big three pretty much completely dominate the music industry. And we also looked at the evolution of sound from 1877 with the invention of phonograph and gramophone and long playing records, and then magnetophones and audio cassette recorders, Walkman, digital songs, CD players, MP3 players. So we have definitely come a long way. And we really don't know what's going to happen in the field of the recording industry. But we are really lucky to be living at a time where we can really reap the wonderful beauty of the various technological innovation that's happening in the music recording industry. So don't forget to kind of finish your class test by 11 p.m. tonight. Have a good day, and I will see you soon.